students. In this lecture, I'll be continuing further with other layers. The transport layer we'll discuss now. So, whatever is the logical connection at the transport layer is also end to end. The transport layer at the source host will get the message from the application layer, encapsulates it in a transport layer packet that is called as a segment or a user datagram depending upon the protocol. So in different protocols it is segment or a user datagram, and then sends it that too through the logical, which is an imaginary connection to the transport layer at the destination host. So we can say that the transport layer is responsible for giving services to the application layer, and then the message from an application program is got, which is running on the source host, and it is delivered to the corresponding application program on the destination host. Then the question arises that why there is a need of and why there is a need of an end-to-end transport layer when there is already an end-to-end application layer. So the reason is that due to having of separation of tasks and duties. In order to have the separation of tasks and duties, for this reason there is a need of end-to-end transport layer. Then the application layer and transport layer should be independent of each other. Okay, the application layer and transportation layer should be independent. So we have one more protocol in the transport layer, which means that the application program can use a protocol that best matches its requirement. Okay, so I can say that there can be more than one protocol in the transport layer, which means that each application program can use a protocol that best matches its requirement. Okay, there are a few transport layer protocols in the internet, and those protocols, which are few, will be each have been designed for some specific task. There's one main protocol, so called Transmission Control Protocol (TCP). It is a connection oriented protocol that first establishes a logical connection between transport layers at two hosts before transferring the data. Then this protocol creates a logical pipe between two TCPs for transferring a stream of bytes. Okay, so this TCP protocol provides flow control. Okay, provides flow control, error control, is it, and congestion control to reduce the loss of segments due to congestion in the network. So TCP provides flow control, error control, and congestion control in order to reduce the loss of segments due to congestion in the network. There is one more other common protocol called User Datagram Protocol (UDP). This is a connectionless protocol that transmits user datagrams without first creating a logical connection. In user datagram protocol, each user datagram is an independent entity without being related to the previous or the next one. Okay, that is the meaning of the term connectionless. This UDP is a simple protocol that does not provide flow, error, or congestion control. Okay, then in simplicity, it means that the small overhead is attractive to an application program that needs to send short messages and cannot afford the retransmission of the packets involved in TCP. When a packet is corrupted or lost, then there is one new protocol called Stream Control Transmission Protocol, SCTP. Stream Control Transmission Protocol is a new protocol, in short called SCTP, which is designed to respond to new applications that are emerging in the multimedia. Okay, so these protocols will be discussed later. Is it clear? Next, we'll discuss about application layer. Okay, application layer. So, when we see the application layer at source side and the application layer at the destination side, it is end to end the logical connection between the two application layers. The two application layers exchange messages between each other as though there was a bridge between the two layers. So message from source side application layer reaches the message at the destination side. Okay, so these messages are exchanged between each other, the application layer. We feel that as if there were a bridge between two layers. Okay, is it clear? But the communication is done through all layers. There is a need to know about this. Then communication at the application layer is between two processes. So communication at the application layer is between two processes, that is two programs running at this layer. Then in order to have communication, a process sends a request to the other process and receives a response. So the duty of the application layer is process to process communication. The in the internet, the application layer includes many predefined protocols, but whoever is a user can also create a pair of processes to be run at the two host. Okay, so later this will be described in other chapters. Then we are going to study the protocols at this application layer. HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP is short of Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol is a vehicle for accessing the World Wide Web, which is www. Then SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. This is main protocol which is used in electronic mail, that is email service. Next, FTP, File Transfer Protocol. This is used for transferring files from one host to another. Next, we have Telnet, Terminal Network, and SSH, Secure Cell. These protocols are used for accessing a site remotely. Next, we have SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. This protocol is used by an administrator to manage the internet at global and local levels. Next is DNS, Domain Name System, which is used by other protocols to find the network layer address of a computer. Then there's one more, IGMP, which stands for IGMP is short of Internet Group Management Protocol. This protocol is used to collect membership in a group. Okay, in a group. Next, we have encapsulation and decapsulation. We are going to study encapsulation and decapsulation. So, one of the most important concepts in protocol layering in the internet is encapsulation slash decapsulation. So there is a figure that will show this concept for small internet. So this figure shows the concept of encapsulation and decapsulation for small internet. Okay, so in this diagram, the layers for the link layer switches. So whatever are the link layer switches, the layers for those link layer switches are not shown because no encapsulation or decapsulation occurs in these switches, the device. Okay, so when we see the figure, you can see the encapsulation occurs in the source host. Encapsulation occurs in the source host, decapsulation occurs in the destination host, and encapsulation and decapsulation occurs in the router. So encapsulation at source host, decapsulation at destination host, then decapsulation and encapsulation in the router. So now we'll discuss about encapsulation at the source host. So as I said, at the source there is only encapsulation. So there are certain steps to be followed for encapsulation at the source side. First is at the application layer, the data to be exchanged to application layer at destination is referred to as a message. The message is passed to the transport layer, and this message normally does not contain any header or trailer. Okay, so if we refer to the whole as the message, you can see here. So you can see the message at application layer, it does not contain any header trailer, it is passed to the transport layer. So okay, so that message is passed to the transport layer. Okay, second, the transport layer takes the message as the payload. This is the load that the transport layer should take care of it. Then the transport layer adds the header to the payload, and this header contains the identifiers of the source and destination application program, this application program that want to communicate, plus some more information that is needed for end to end delivery of the message, such as information needed for flow error control or congestion control. Then after this all process is over, the result is a transport layer packet which is called the segment in TCP and user datagram in UDP. The transport layer then passes the packet to the network layer. Okay, the transport layer then passes the packet to the network layer. So the you can see here number 4 has got added, that will come network layer, the text. The network layer takes the transport layer packet as data or payload and adds its own header to the payload. The header contains the addresses of the source and destination host, and it will also add some more information that is used for error checking of the header, fragmentation information, and so on. Then the result, that is the network layer packet called a datagram. The network layer then passes the packet data link layer. Next is the data link layer takes the network layer packet as data or payload and adds its own header, which contains the link layer addresses of the host or the next hop. The result is the link layer packet, which is called a frame. The frame is passed to the physical layer for transmission. Decapsulation and encapsulation at the router. Okay, so next we have decapsulation and encapsulation at the router. So at the router, just a minute, before going to this, what all I have told, all those 4 points are being written here. Okay, so I told the last will be the frame. The frame is passed to the physical layer for transmission. Okay, next decapsulation and encapsulation at the router. So At the router we have both decapsulation and encapsulation because the router is connected to two or more links. You can see here the router is connected to two or more links. That is why there is both decapsulation and encapsulation. First decapsulation, then next encapsulation. Okay, so we'll discuss this. First one is the data link layer decapsulates the datagram from the frame and passes it to the network layer after the set of bits are delivered to the data link layer. Okay, what I told, the data link layer decapsulates the datagram from the frame and passes it to the network layer after the sets of bits are delivered to the data link layer. Second point is the network layer only inspects the source and destination addresses in the datagram header and consults its forwarding table to find the next hop where datagram to find the next hop to which the datagram is to be delivered. Okay, then whatever is the datagram, the contents of that datagram should not be changed by network layer in the router. But if the datagram is too big to be passed through the next link, then it needs to fragment the datagram. Then only the datagram can, then only the router fragment the datagram if it is too big to be passed through the next link. The datagram is then passed to the data link layer of the next link. Third one, the third point is the datagram is encapsulated in a frame and passes it to the physical layer for transmission by the data link layer of the next link. Okay, so that datagram is encapsulated in a frame by the data link layer of the next link and passes the frame to the physical layer for transmission. So what this is about decapsulation and encapsulation at the router. Next we'll go for decapsulation at the destination host. At destination host, each layer only decapsulates the packet received, removes the payload, then it delivers the payload to the next higher protocol until the message reaches the application layer. So decapsulation in the host involves error checking, so it is necessary to see. So you can see here decapsulation. It goes on removing the payload. So you can see payload is being removed. Last comes the message. Okay. Next we'll discuss about addressing. Okay. This is another concept that is related to protocol layering in the internet called addressing. Okay. So as we have seen previous lectures that the logical communication between pairs of layers in this model exist. Okay, logical communication between pairs of layer in this model exists. Then communication that involves two parties needs two addresses, source address and destination address. So the communication when it is taking place between two parties, it needs two addresses, source address and destination address. So as there are 5 layers, we feel that, or it looks, we need 5 pairs of addresses, 1 pair per layer. But normally there are only 4 pairs of addresses for 4 layers because the physical layer does not need addresses. Physical layer does not need addresses. Okay, physical layer does not need addresses. Why? Because at physical layer the unit of data exchange is a bit, which definitely cannot have an address. So this figure is going to show the relationship between the layer, address used in that layer, and the packet name at that layer. You can see application layer, packet name is message, addresses are names. Transport layer, packet name is segment or user datagram, address port number. Layer, network layer, packet name datagram, address is logical address. Data link layer, packet name frame, address link layer addresses. Layers, physical layer, packet name bits. Okay. Okay. So we can see at application layer, normally names are used to define the site that provides services. For example, some org.com or email address such as somebody at coldmail.com. So names are used at application layer to define the site that provides services or email address. At transport layer, addresses are called port numbers, and these define the application layer programs at the source and destination. Source and destination. So at transport layer, addresses are called port numbers, and these define the application layer programs at the source and destination. Then these port numbers are local addresses that distinguish between several programs running at the same time. At the network layer, the addresses are global. At the network layer, the addresses are global with the whole internet as scope. A network layer address uniquely defines the connection of a device to the internet. The link layer addresses, sometimes called MAC addresses, are locally defined addresses, each of which defines a specific host or router in a network, which can be LAN or WAN. Okay, so this is about addressing. Next, we have multiplexing and demultiplexing. So, TCP IP protocol suite uses several protocols at some layer, as we have seen. Okay, due to this, we have multiplexing at the source and demultiplexing at the destination. Both figures have been shown as figure A and B. Multiplexing at source, figure A, demultiplexing at destination, figure B. What does multiplexing mean in this? In this case, multiplexing means that a protocol at a layer can encapsulate a packet from several next higher layer protocols, that to one at a time. Demultiplexing means that a protocol can decapsulate and deliver a packet to the several next higher layer protocols one at a time. So this figure is showing the concept of multiplexing and demultiplexing at three upper layers. Then in order to have multiplex and demultiplex, a protocol needs to have a field in its header to identify to which protocol the encapsulated packets belong. If it is transport layer, then either UDP or TCP can accept a message from several application layer protocols. If it is a network layer, IP can accept a segment from TCP or a user datagram from UDP. At data link layer, a frame may carry the payload coming from IP or other protocols such as ARP. Okay. So we can say at network layer, IP can accept a segment from TCP or a user datagram from UDP. IP can also accept a packet from other protocol such as ICMP, IGMP and so on. At data link layer, a frame may carry the payload coming from IP or other protocols such as ARP. So I conclude here. In next lecture, I'll continue. You go through this.